Hi, I'm Heather, one of the co-hosts of Felicity Was Here, the ultimate rewatch podcast for the 90s WB show Felicity. Along with my co-hosts Melissa and Dr. Joe, we are back for Season 2, Felicity's sophomore year at the University of New York. But this ain't no sophomore slump. With a new school year comes new characters and romances, regretful mistakes and second chances, and of course, the haircut. Whether you're a diehard fan or a first-timer, we'll break it all down scene by scene. We'll finally find out who the hell Felicity picked for the summer trip of a lifetime, and we'll watch as she tries to mend ties with the friends she hurt in the process. So put on your favorite Sarah McLachlan CD and get ready to relive the laughs, the tears, and the questionable choices with us. Season 2 of Felicity Was Here premieres on September 5th, 2024, with new episodes coming out bi-weekly on Thursdays. Don't forget to follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you get your pods, and join the conversation on social and on Discord. In the meantime, here's a sneak peek at what's ahead in Season 2. We're super excited to be back. First, before we completely close out summer altogether, we did want to dive into this little-known book called Felicity Summer.
Oh my gosh.
It really threw all of us for a loop, but we did a little Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants book club here where we shipped this copy out to each other and read it and shared our thoughts. So I was Googling images for something related to Felicity for our social and stumbled upon the book cover. I was like, oh my God, there's a book about Felicity. And I saw that it was, in fact, legit. It was canon. It was put out by the network or by the studio. And I was just shocked. I can't believe middle school me had not heard about this book and read it already. Ordered it immediately when I found a used copy of it on Amazon. We shared on our Discord as well with our listeners, and some of them confirmed that they, in fact, talked about it on the Dear Felicity pod. And I just couldn't believe it. I had never heard of it. And the second that I got it and started reading it from page 1, my mouth dropped. I was completely confused about this book and had to then go and listen to the Dear Felicity podcast.
I mean, you warned them about spoilers, but I feel like we shouldn't recommend. Don't read this at all. Don't worry about the spoilers. Don't read it. Don't read it. Don't bother.
If you can find a really cheap used version, maybe.
Yeah, you all read it before me, a few weeks before me, and I remember you guys texting me like, this is bonkers, this is not good, and I'm like, it can't be that bad. It's got to have something good, and I read it, and I just remember texting you guys like, what the fuck did I just read? It was like a bizarro world. It was nothing like I thought, so disappointed.
I had to go and listen to the Dear Felicity podcast to get the details, so a little background. According to the pod, they had one of the writers of the show on there, and he said that it was already in the middle of season 1 when the studio or network reached out to JJ about this book. The book was written by a writer and author, but apparently JJ just absolutely hated it, and he told the writers in the writer room, we are rewriting this entire book. Oh, it has to be done in 24 hours. So apparently they divvied up the book by 4 people. We're each going to write a quarter of this book overnight. But it also just leaves me with more questions than answers, because if it was the actual Felicity writers who wrote the book, I don't understand how the vibes were so off between the show and this book. One of the glaring, this is almost the worst, is she goes back to Palo Alto and goes out for a run to clear her mind. I'm like, when has Felicity ever gone on a run or a walk or to the gym? It just was so not Felicity. I'm like, how did the writers write this into her story? She goes to the track at Stanford. It just was so bizarre to me.
They know her character. Why are they trying to change her? They could have had her go draw or something, anything other than running.
Season 2, episode 1. It premiered on September 26th, 1999, so just about 25 years ago. As we did last season, wanted to go back in time a little bit just to set the stage, where we were in 1999, what else was going on in pop culture and in the world. And LA Times actually argues that 1999 was a watershed moment for pop culture. They said 1999 produced a dizzying variety of essential pop culture artifacts, milestones, and turning points, not only remaking the culture as we knew it then, but creating the culture we live in now. When I started looking at all the things that did come out in 1999, I would say I have to agree. So many core memories from our childhood or teenagehood growing up came out of 1999. And I think just the whole Y2K drama really solidified 1999 as like a turning point in our culture. At the movie theater, The Sixth Sense was #1 at the box office, which was following huge hits like Blair Witch Project and The Matrix, and as we referenced last season, Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace.
I was so excited that they mentioned the Blair Witch Project in this episode. I really appreciate this movie for what it did because it revolutionized movie marketing per the LA Times article that I'm going to be talking about. It was genius that when the Blair Witch Project premiered at the Sundance Film Festival in 1999, the film's cast, they were a bunch of unknowns, and they used their real names in the movie, so they were listed as either missing or deceased when it was premiering at Sundance. So, like, they really so deeply leaned into this. It's a genuine found footage thing. This was a real thing that happened, and it was, like, people were left questioning, was that real or was that fictional? Like, it was so confusing. It was so exciting and so fun when it was released.
On the lighter side, the sheer amount of teen movies that came out in 1999 is also astounding. I mean, I think of most of these movies as my childhood, pre-teenhood, and I thought they were scattered across a few years, but they were all 1999s. Cruel Intentions, She's All That, 10 Things I Hate About You, Never Been Kissed, Varsity Blues, American Pie, Drive Me Crazy, I'm a Cheerleader, Drop Dead Gorgeous.
Wow.
Those were all just 1999.
What a year.
That's amazing.
We must have just lived at the movie theater that year.
Yeah.
It's really interesting because last season, I think we talked a lot about the teen TV shows that were becoming popular on the WB and started with 90210 before that. And I think that like now 1999, we're seeing that like in movies, like the teen demographic is really being catered to. So, yeah, I think that it's just a really interesting moment for pop culture. I also see, yes, that the shadow of the Y2K bug loomed large, but people were still just like really excited about the future and the new millennium. And so I think we see some of that in our pop culture too. Pressing play, I was so excited to immediately find out who Felicity picks. Guys, that's what's going to happen? No. JJ and Matt have other plans. They're going to make us wait a little bit longer, even though I probably spent the whole summer just rewinding my VHS tape of taping that last finale episode, trying to like read lips, see where she was going in that cab ride. But we pick up with her in the cab, and Felicity's telling Javier.
Yeah.
Javier's back. Side note. He got his visa. But she's telling Javier that she was sitting in the cab and it was like a moment of truth for her. But as she's telling the story to Javier, her beeper goes off. LOL, she's got a beeper. And it's Megan. Their floor meeting is in 15 minutes and she's got to go. But Javier says he doesn't give two hoots. Who did she pick? She's just like, oh, I can't tell you. Like, it has to be told as a big story. And Javier says, I know I don't always say things that I mean exactly, but this is serious. Tell me who the hell you did go with or I will kill you.
I love that he was like all of us in that moment. Just tell us.
Yes. So Felicity says to Sally, 1 year ago today, I was becoming friends with people. Now I'm becoming enemies. And that is my first angsty away message of the season.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's dramatic. That is so fucking dramatic, though. I was like, oh my fucking God. Becoming enemies? You're lucky if that girl becomes your enemy, because right now she doesn't give any shits about you. Zero fucks are being given. You are people who used to know each other. You're not even enemies. Enemies is a step up from what's going on right now.
Yeah, but Felicity is the main character of her own world.
Yeah.
So then we see that Felicity sitting in the hallway on a bench filling out her paperwork to still try and get that transfer. And in slow-mo, of course, got to drag it out as far as we can. We see Ben appear at one end of the hallway, and then we see Noel appear at the other end of the hallway.
But I just love that whole dramatic scene. They could have done it in a different way where she just like meets one of them somewhere or whatever. I love that it was the two of them at the same time in the hallway, just leading up to it. It was so suspenseful still. Love that.
Still. And we see that choice.
Yeah.
It's left or right, which end of the hallway. It's very obvious. He does the shoulder touch.
He did. Yes, he did.
Don't worry. I'll mention it. Which was, again, I will admit, it was nice because I think in the moment, like kissing her or something would have been way too much for the situation they were in, but it was like a nice little
Yeah.
like, I'm still here,
Yes.
I got you. It was a nice
Yeah,
little
I got you. Yeah.
without being like overtly gross.
I got chills again.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not kidding.
Over the
Yes.
if any straight single men listen to this podcast,
Mhm.
that's all it takes is
Yes.
a touch on the shoulder.
Yes.
Hey, this is a big gesture.
It's so easy. It's so easy.
Do you know what it reminds me of from Pride and Prejudice when Mr. Darcy
Oh.
takes Elizabeth's hand from
The
the
hand.
carriage, and it's just like so
And he-
awesome and charged and sweet? Yeah, it's like that.
That gave me chills too. Mm-mm.
The hand squeeze heard
Yeah,
around the world.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the one.
Still no tape back from Sally. Justice for Sally.
Sad.
We haven't heard her in such a long time.
We need to hear from her because we can't decide amongst ourselves. We need her to set the record
I
straight.
need her advice.
Yeah, we do.
I need her insights and
Yes.
slash therapy.